Doc, today we're going to talk about something that's a little bit more sobering. The tsunami of mental health disorders that threatens to overwhelm our
Yeah.
society. And 40% of adults will experience an anxiety disorder in their lifetime. That's basically half. 17% of adults will experience major depression
Major
in their
depression.
lifetime. Substance abuse disorders. 15% of adults will experience substance abuse. Post-traumatic stress disorder, 6%. So from those same sources, anxiety disorders have increased 20% in the last 15 years. And like that tsunami on the coast, it just keeps going. So if it's gone up 20% by the last 15 years, who knows where it's going to be 15 years from now? Depression. The
Right.
prevalence of major depression has increased by 15% in the last 15 years. Substance abuse increased by 10% over the last decade. PTSD going up 5-10%. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but these things are just on this like rising curve. And that is what's diagnosed.
Right. Those are the most severe where the floor is completely gone and I can't even function. I can't get to work. I
Or
can't
they've
do
been
anything.
treated by somebody. But the question is, how many people are out there who've been undiagnosed? They're suffering under anxiety or depression or substance abuse, but they're sort of self-medicating, with drugs, alcohol, whatever, other behaviors. So what we have in the statistics of diagnosis may be the tip of an iceberg in our society.
Typically, what we want to be looking at is some consistency of this over time. So in the DSM-5, which gives you kind of the criteria, you're looking for not just the symptoms where you're like in anxiety, where you're avoiding things because of worries and you're obsessing about things and you're restless in certain situations. But there's a period of time that this is disruptive and it's not particularly tied to maybe a situational event. Like you lose your job. Are you going to get depressed? Probably. Or have to do something that you don't want to do, like give a presentation in front of people. Are you going to be anxious? Yes. But these are things that you really can't tie anything particular to, and they last for long periods of time, like major depressive disorder, which again, like you said, this is on a continuum. There's a lot of people who are depressed who don't have major depressive disorder. The major depressive disorder takes you out of commission. It is like a tidal wave hits you and knocked you down and you can't get back up again for periods of weeks. Then you have this other thing called dysthymia, which is a form of depression, but it's more like 3-foot waves are just hitting you and you're stumbling, but yeah, you're getting your feet back on you. And then 30 seconds later, another 3-foot wave hits you and you stumble and you get back up again. And you're still able to get to work. You're still able to pay the bills. You're able to still function in life, but you've lost that joy or that fulfillment. And it just feels like everything's wearing on you. Well, that's not grouped in this number that you're giving of 17%. And that's where a lot of people are. But I think the real kind of takeaway is, what are we doing to try to eradicate or deal with these things? And why so many other areas are going so fast, so forward, but yet we're stuck in this, how are we dealing with mental health? You just don't see anything new and innovative. If you go to your doctor's office, you're going to get 2 options. You're going to get medication or therapy, both of which may be efficient, but we're going to get into this in a little bit. Is that all we can come up with everything else advancing like it is? This is kind of stuck. In the late 80s, early 90s, Prozac came out. And it's about the time that drug companies were actually able to start advertising to general population. See, that doesn't happen in every country. In the United States, though, we see all the advertisements about drugs and those kind of things. But when Prozac came out, that was also the same time that drug companies started marketing to people versus just doctors. right? And the front page of, I think it was Newsweek, said this medicine will get rid of depression in the next 1 to 2 decades. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's what it said, right? Like, this is going to solve our issue. 1990. It's getting worse. You're just giving some basic numbers on this. Since 1990, what's happened with depression? Add the pandemic and what happened during then. The biggest thing I deal with when I'm on college campuses, which we're on a lot of college campuses, is retention. Why retention? Or is it because of learning disabilities? No. Retention, because these college students are getting depressed and anxious and have no energy to be able to complete their college degree. And these universities, they're kind of freaking out because they put all this money and energy to get these kids on campus, and they're just losing them by the handful. They're just going. Where did they go? Right? There's a problem here, and we need to be part of the solution. And we're going to talk about how Inner Armor is part of that solution. We're reframing that and looking at how do we go about not just knee-jerk reaction to these things, but creating resilience. So if I'm the next guy up with depression, then I'm ready for it, right? And that my body is resilient. But I have to look upstream neurologically and physiologically to see, why is this happening if I'm ever going to fix it? And fortunately and unfortunately, we live in a culture where we're really good at chemical reactions. If I want to change a behavior, if I want to make you focus right now, I can give you something to focus. You can actually go to the 7-Eleven and buy stuff to focus. But we can also, if I can't sleep at night, right? We have to look upstream to find out where these are coming from, and then actually engage in a process of learning to focus, learning to deal with my depression, learning to be more resilient, learning to be less anxious, learning to sleep better, not chemically altering it. I would say that the place where you're going to hit everything is upstream and with the brain. So the more optimal the brain is functioning and the autonomic nervous system, the more optimal what you're going to try to do downstream is going to work. We have programs, Inner Armor programs in elementary schools, where we're teaching first and second graders how to breathe in such a way for their heart to be calm under pressure, teaching them biomechanics of breathing, teaching them how to focus in a way where they're not stressed, but they're calm. It should be part of education that we're teaching people how to become resilient, because our biggest issue isn't can they get into college, it's can they stay in college? Are they going to be mentally strong enough to manage that? And that should be like class 101 that we're teaching kids, is how to be resilient, how to sleep better, how to breathe in such a way, how to focus correctly. I mean, we're just missing the boat because we're not looking at it for what it really is that we're failing. We're trying to put our fingers in the dike, and the water is coming over and through all the holes, and there aren't enough fingers to hold off the water. The dam is going to break.